we continue working at the sites of the 7th Congress of Leaders of World and Traditional Religions, and I'm joined now by Rabbi Marc Schneier, the President of Foundation for Ethnic Understanding. Hello, Mr. Schneier.
It's a pleasure.
Good afternoon. Yes,
Thank you.
We warmly welcome you in the capital of Kazakhstan. Let me ask you about this. The agenda of this Congress is the role of religious leaders in the spiritual and social development of humanity in the post-pandemic period. So what do you think is the ultimate role of religious, especially nowadays when we face so many challenges, when we try to build a post-pandemic world and also we have ongoing conflicts?
Well, religious leaders have a very important, very unique, and a very singular role. And religious leaders, faith leaders, need to raise their voices in screaming protest to so many ills that now face our society. The many conflicts, the confrontations, the wars. For too many years, faith leaders, there has been a deafening silence, which has been a testament to a certain moral indifference on the part of religious leaders. And in particular, having Pope Francis at this conference. I've been to many of these conferences. You know, people say, Rabbi, what's so unique about this conference? Well, it's obvious. What's so unique is that you have the head of the Christian world, you have the head of the Catholic Church, and as you heard in his remarks today, he set that tone. He challenged the faith leaders who are here in Nur Sultan to speak out and to very much lead the way in trying to not only better the world, but to bring that ideology of peace that is so dear to all of our respective faiths.
This concept becomes very, very important right now. President Tokayev also made some remarks about the importance of peace movement, that we should establish peace movement. So how practically we can bring this concept to the reality?
Well, you should know that in Judaism, another name for God is Shalom, which means peace. That shows you how profound peace is within the Jewish religion. We have the platform. It's religious leaders that deal with the masses, that deal with the people. And if we can create that kind of bond, not only a recognition of our common faith, but also an acknowledgement of our common fate, and how our single destiny, our single destiny, or as you said, humanity, must strengthen our bonds of concern, care, and compassion for each other.
What should this platform, as a Congress, as a promoter for this peace and tolerance talks, could do even more to establish this peace concept, this peace culture around the world?
What I found to be so remarkable in terms of the Pope's message today, when he spoke about the need to stop proselytizing, which I found to be quite astounding, because the Christian religion is a missionary religion. Yes. So what was the message he was conveying? When you stop proselytizing, that means that you recognize the other. You don't have the arrogance to think that your way is the absolute way. Instead of imposing religion, you expose people to different religions. If we could create a society where you have a recognition that there are different paths of belief, different paths of faith, it's no longer black and white, but it's gray, where we respect and fight for the other, that could be the foundation and the contribution of religious leaders in terms of creating this new movement of peace.
And what is the importance of religious diplomacy right now? What this diplomacy could do in order to reestablish peace in the world?
Look, I am a great champion of interfaith diplomacy. And in terms of my own work, I'm at the forefront of strengthening, building relations between Muslims and Jews around the world. I pioneered this field more than 20 years ago. So take the Abraham Accords. The Accords just signed just 2 years ago. In fact, today is the anniversary of the Abraham Accords, signed between Israel and Morocco, UAE and Bahrain. You needed to have a foundation of interreligious and intercultural dialogue among the people to move forward. And that's the role that religion must play. You have a political channel running parallel to that. You also need the interfaith channel. But an interfaith channel that's going to kind of shift the believers from a view of an absolute truth to an understanding that there are different paths, there are different ways, and the need to respect the other.
So the role of this interfaith dialogue is just huge, it's powerful. Could it be powerful? It's
very powerful. I mean, I'm a perfect example. I think even before the Abraham Accords, look at here in Kazakhstan. I remember I was in Abu Dhabi in 2019 when Pope Francis was there, and I was honored to speak on behalf of the Jewish community. And someone pointed out the fact that in the UAE they declared a year of tolerance. My response was, look at Kazakhstan, look at Azerbaijan. For 1,000 years, every year has been a year of tolerance. Here we are, people I think are also not paying attention to the fact that you have this great interreligious conference with Pope Francis, with other major faith leaders in a Muslim majority country. People are just taking that for granted. I mean, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, the idea of having an interfaith conference in a Muslim country would have been unheard of. But here you have countries like Kazakhstan, like Uzbekistan, like Azerbaijan, where this kind of coexistence among faith communities not only is a profound example for your country, but there are 57 Muslim nations. And these 57 Muslim nations should look to Kazakhstan, to Azerbaijan, Uzbekistan, as a role model in terms of the model that we need to achieve.
So I think we should just keep going with this Congress as a platform for bringing people together. This is a very important initiative.
Not only to keep going with the Congress, tell the story of Kazakhstan. Let the world know the story of Kazakhstan.
That is important.
And that is so critical.
Let me bring this topic as well. There is a growing trend now that young, especially young adults around the world are becoming less religious. Several research say. So what do you think of that perspective? What religious communities should do to impact this concept?
Well, I think it depends where. I wouldn't make such a monolithic statement. I know communities like back in the United States, among the Jewish community, many young people are returning to religion. It's up to religious leaders to make religion relevant today. And one way we can make religion relevant is by getting more involved, impacting on greater society, whether it's the war between Russia and Ukraine, whether it's climate change, whether it's the amount of people that are impoverished, whether it's providing comfort and consolation, to millions of people that just went through the pandemic. Religion needs to be relevant. If it's relevant, then more and more young people will gravitate to it.
I think this, nowadays, this is time to speak out really and to set an example, especially if we talk about the young adults. They're searching for examples to just follow.
Yes, I mean, everyone, and I think that's part of human nature. Everyone has that spiritual dimension. People are thirsting for some spirituality. But religion can be more than just spiritual. Religion can also set the tone, but it must be on the condition that we cannot present a religion that is an absolute truth. There is no absolute truth.
Yes.
And you see that, when you see 100 different religious delegations here, who's to say you're right and I'm wrong? No, they're different paths, but at the same time, as I mentioned before, we all share a common faith.
Yeah.
We all share a common belief, and we need to bring ourselves together to play a very, very important role in setting the world on the right course.
That is very wise notion. Thank you very much for your time and your answers. And I will say it again, I was joined by Rabbi Marc Schneier, President of Foundation for Ethnic Understanding, and we will continue to work here at the sites of the 7th Congress of Leaders of World and Traditional Religions. Stay tuned and follow our news.